One thing that I really like about Montreal specifically, one thing that I love about living here is how there's this sense that you can just do what you want. If you want to host concerts, you turn your apartment into a venue, you know? If you want to be an artist, you start painting and you hang stuff up at cafes, you know? If you want to do tattoos, you buy the equipment and you start tattooing your friends, you know? And then you can make it a living. Maybe the perception of what is a way to get tattooed got very narrow in the past few decades, and maybe now it's going to expand a little bit and encompass like new avenues that people get tattooed, people learn to tattoo, you know? Like tattooing has been around since the dawn of humanity, right? Like it's like a nearly universal art form. How is this thing actually done today in Montreal? And just kind of no preconceptions, no judgment, just like see what's going on. I mean, you know, every time I open Instagram, you find more artists working from home, people just starting up, people that you didn't hear about, you know. You scroll through here and you see a punk dude tattooing his friends, and you scroll down a little bit and you see, you know, a professional tattoo artist from Japan who's, you know, world-renowned or whatever, right next to each other, right? So it feels like it's kind of leveled the playing field. Seems like most of the people working from home are doing stick and poke, just I guess because there's a lower barrier to entry. It's a little bit easier to kind of teach yourself the basics rather than learning how to use a machine and all that equipment. Kind of classic, fun stuff. Gnarly pokes. I could see myself getting tattooed by this person, no problem. All right, let's reach out. We're in touch with a few different artists on Instagram. And right now we're heading down to St. Henry and I'm gonna get a tattoo.
I started tattooing in my parents' basement. And that was pretty bad. It's just awkward. So this is my studio. It used to be my bedroom because we used to be three roommates. So there used to be like my bed here, and then I had my tattoo table. I had to like fold it up and hide it in the corner. And so I kept kind of the same decorations as in my bedroom because I like to have all the walls mostly full.
Sure, yeah.
It's more entertaining. Like then people walk in and not only are they getting tattooed, but they're like observing, and it's like a mini museum or whatever. I like that.
So at the start you were kind of just doing it for friends and like posting stuff on Instagram sometimes, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. Like I don't even think, when I first started, I didn't even make an Instagram or anything. It's like when I thought of it as like a career opportunity, that's when I made an Instagram. For people coming here, like I try and make it super laid back, like you just have the music and chatting with people. It's definitely like, yeah, it's definitely a different experience, and I think that's probably one of the reasons people like to get stick and pokes for sure. Like I've spoken to a lot of people about this, and they say that they feel like stressed and they feel like a pressure when you go into a shop because everybody knows each other and everybody's doing their thing, but you come in and you kind of feel like a stranger, I guess, and you're getting tattooed. You want to be relaxed because you're going to be in pain and you're like getting this permanent thing on your skin. Actually, I'd say most of the people I get, it's their first tattoos. They're not really like people who are super tatted up or whatever. And a lot of the people who get their first tattoos with me come back.
Nice.
Like once they know that they feel comfortable coming here, then after when they have projects, they'll for sure come to me, which is really great. My sister got me for my birthday like kind of a class with a guy who actually did tattoos. He like came with all his stuff and showed me how to set up a machine and everything.
Oh, cool.
And so I got a machine at that time and never used it. or like I tried, but it just wasn't for me.
Didn't work out. Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll ever make the transition into like a shop? Not necessarily with a machine, but like
Never.
never.
I hope to never do it because I've kind of just always like said I'm not against it. Like if you want to work in a shop, that's awesome. I find shops are like some shops I've been to, I would love to work there in the sense where it's really cool to work with other artists all day and just not be like alone in the studio. It also gives you like fixed hours, which is kind of nice. But yeah, no, Montreal definitely has something that nowhere else has in the sense where like it's almost become normal. Like it's probably not 50-50 with shops, but there's enough of a community for people to kind of be surprised that we're so present.
Yeah, that's interesting. Why do you think that is?
Well, a lot of people move to Montreal from like smaller places to do art. Like Montreal is, I guess, a very artistic city and it's open to that kind of stuff. You know what? Actually, this is an important one. There's a client base.
Right.
There's enough people who want stick and poke tattoos for like us to be enough people to give tattoos to everybody. The majority of the tattoos I do are my own flash. And I think it's the same for most of the artists, the same kind of artists is like you do mostly your own flash. Like exceptions for customized work, but because it's based off of what we really actually like to do. I base my prices on my clients in a sense because I don't like when people aren't able to get tattooed because they can't afford it. Like honestly, it just sucks. I'm like, okay, well I'm losing work just because my tattoo's like $20 too expensive or whatever. So I rather have a cheaper tattoo and do more tattoos. I hope that most tattoo like artists that tattoo from their home, like you just, because you're already doing something that could be seen as unsanitary and kind of sketchy and whatever, like you have to kind of prove that it's not. So just right away you like have a clean environment and you make sure that everything looks legit because it is and it has to be. Because
like you take that extra step because you know that people can think that.
Yeah, exactly.
Could you ever see yourself working with a machine, or have you tried?
No, I never touched a machine. Yeah, I never. I really love poke, so I don't think I will ever just go with the machines and yeah. I really love poke.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you like about it?
I don't know. It's like the feeling you can see you can feel the needle going through the skin, and from the first time I ever tattooed myself. This is all this is poke.
Nice.
Yeah, it's all stick and poke.
So basically, like, how did you get started doing stick and poke tattoos in your house?
At first, it was because I was very lonely. I had not much friends, and I was living alone in Laval, far away from everybody, and I don't know. It was kind of depressing, and I just started watching videos, and I did like this one with like the tiniest needle ever. So it was really painful, really long. But that was the first time I tattooed. It was only myself. I draw some flash, and I just yeah.
Put it up on.
Yeah, put it up on Instagram. Yeah, on Instagram, and it was like friends to friends, like, and they talked to each other. Eventually, some people that I didn't know would eventually come. Ça a mieux marché que ce que je pensais.
Okay.
Yeah.
In my experience, sometimes when I talk to people about this who don't know that much about this, the whole idea of like getting tattooed in someone's house or like doing it outside of a shop is like they've never even heard of it. So
Yeah.
what gave you that idea? Like, where did you kind of?
I think the first tattoo that I got, I was 18 years old, and this was a matching tattoo with my mom.
Oh, okay.
It was like a friend of my mom, and she was tattooing at her home in the suburban.
Okay.
So
That's how you heard about it.
yeah, the first time. And after that, I got tattoos by my friends at their homes. So I didn't have like this idea of like, oh, you have to get tattoos in a shop. I really love more going to someone's house. I don't know why. Maybe it's the proximity of with the client and the artist.
More one-on-one.
Yeah.
You mentioned you've met a bunch of artists here. Do you feel like there's like a scene where like people know each other and it's kind of like
Oh yeah,
everybody
definitely.
doing it, or
Yeah. Yeah. It's a community. Maybe it's because in Montreal people are like they like the underground things. Yeah. I wanted to have a style that you can recognize on the streets.
Right.
You know. So yeah, is it Vincent? So I think it's really cool when someone wants to go see you for your style, for your drawings, not because you do like basic stuff and you can do everything that anyone does.
They like what you're specifically
Yeah.
doing.
And yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm really trying to show that stick and pokes is not only like trash tattoo. You could do professional tattooing.
It's really an intimate thing, you know? I think like the fact that there's not like that constant noise happening, the like of the machine, makes it a lot more like peaceful and easy to have a conversation. I think it makes it more of like a bonding experience, and you feel like you know the artist and like you've had like an experience instead of just like going somewhere and getting tattooed. You had like a moment, which is nice. Initially I wanted to do it with the machine, and I'm like a huge procrastinator where like I'll show interest in something but then it'll take me 5 years to actually try it. My boyfriend bought me like a machine setup because he was like, stop fucking around. Here you go. Now you have no excuse. And then I was like, okay, fine. I bought the book, started reading up on it, started getting information. I like was in the metro one day reading that book, and this girl comes up to me and like taps me on the shoulder, and I was like, what the fuck you want, right? Because it's the metro. And she's like, are you learning how to tattoo? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, do you want me to show you how? So I messaged her. I went to her house. She showed me how. We practiced on like fake skin. And I hated it. I don't know what it was. Like, I guess like the setup was so long, and like the weight of the machine on my hand, the vibration, like everything felt very, like I was a robot type thing. I can see a lot of perks to working in a shop and working with other people. Like just having company and like being able to discuss tattoos and like the techniques with other people. And then also the fact that like you would share the cost of like the equipment, the gear. And like just not working in your own house, you know, would be great. Like as much as I try not to be freaked out, you know, like if I have a stranger in my home, it's still kind of a stranger in my home. And then also some people don't like cats. So it's like often I have to be like, sorry, I have cats, so I guess you're not booking an appointment with me. Most people now are realizing that like a certificate will only take you so far. Like if you don't have experience, you can't get anything, you can't get a job. I have a lot of friends who just started teaching themselves something and then got a job from just having the knowledge. as for apprenticeships and tattooing. So I think we're transitioning out of that because that was like not realistic for our generation. I think it's going to become a beautiful thing. I just don't know what it's going to be yet. Every time I do a tattoo, if I like really like it, I'll try and like do another version of it. Like with the headless babies, it started off I did like the little cherubs. And as I was doing one, I started with the feet and then made my way up to the head. And when I like cleaned it off and the head wasn't there yet, the stencil removed itself and it was a headless baby. And I was like, oh my God, I love this. My favorite designs never sell quickly. I don't know why. Maybe I have weird taste. But it's exciting when someone finally picks it up because then I'm like, yes, you see what I was trying to do.
What I find interesting so far in speaking with these tattoo artists is how naturally they got into tattooing. It's like there's this natural pathway given the culture in Montreal, given the client base. Of course, we're only scratching the surface now. I think we'll meet artists with different motivations, different backgrounds, but at least we can open up the conversation a bit and just give people who aren't familiar, you know, a real view into how it works, how things are being done, you know?